This is Crypto Core Radio, discussing the ideas, people, and projects building the new digital economy. Get the latest on blockchain technology and cryptocurrency updates with your host, Lutz.
I hear you. Busy day, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's definitely how it goes. So I'm going to introduce myself a little bit here. First off, I'd like to thank both of you for having me on here. It's really a pleasure to speak to both of you. My name is Uncle Charlie, and it's very nice to meet you, Dred. And what's up, buddy?
Welcome to Crypto Core Radio.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So hold on a second. So we got Drake on the line. Drake is coming home from work, and we got Mr. Uncle Charlie on the line, and he's everybody's Uncle Charlie. Everyone's got one like him, and he knows nothing about crypto, but he's here today to learn something about it. And then we have Pirate Dre on the line, who knows everything about crypto and is a superior master, and he's going to help Uncle Charlie understand what this is all about.
I'm learning from the right person, you're telling me.
Yeah, didn't I just say he's a master? What, he got waxing ears?
Yes, he did. That's awesome. I can tell you how great that is.
He didn't even deny it.
Because I've been curious about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and how this all works. Just like every other person, you hear it on the radio, news, but kind of seems like for the everyday person like me, it's hard to really get into it for many reasons. First and foremost, Dred, if you don't mind me asking, how does one even acquire Bitcoin? Like, what do I do first? How does one even go about purchasing Bitcoin? Like, I go about my everyday life, go to work, go to school, I get that weekly paycheck, take that check to the bank, it gets deposited, fine. But all of this news about Bitcoin and how well it's doing, and it makes me want to get some, honestly. So, how do I even start? How do I go about that? Where do I even go to buy some?
All right, well, first things first, there's several ways you can go about it. The easiest way is to use an onboarding service like Coinbase. There's a website called Coinbase.com, and basically you sign up, put in your information, and then from there you can do a bank transfer. You could do purchase with credit cards. Only select cards will actually let you do it, because certain ones like Wells Fargo, or I think Bank of America is in there too, where they don't allow you to make purchases on Coinbase with credit cards. So,
if I may, go ahead. If I may ask, how come you're not allowed to make purchases with Wells Fargo? I believe you said
they deem it as too risky for a consumer to do it. So basically, they're telling you that you can't use the credit that they allow you to have to make a risk.
I see. I could have swore I heard about 2 or 3 years ago that using credit cards wasn't allowed at all to buy Bitcoin. I guess they changed.
Well, they allowed it at one point, but this isn't a recent development either. This has actually been a rule that happened last year at some point. It was kind of like early last year. I think after the bear, like during the beginning of the bear market, when Bitcoin went from almost 20 grand down to like 10, a lot of people started losing money, and then people being people started complaining, and then credit card companies were like, well, I don't want this to basically go on our books as unrecoverable debt, so we'll just say no more crypto purchases with credit cards. So you can do it with your bank card, with like your actual bank account, but aside from that, they won't let you do it with credit card.
How do you do it off the books?
Well, you find
Local
people that
local
have
Bitcoin.
local Bitcoin works, I believe. I haven't personally used it myself. Mainly, the way that I've gotten Bitcoin was through mining other currencies and selling it for Bitcoin, which is another topic, but that you can get into. But aside from that, what you can do is find people that do OTC services like local Bitcoins or whatnot to sell you Bitcoin directly for cash. So you can, sometimes you can do a meetup, or you can actually, have people Venmo you or use the Pay app to pay you, or for you to pay, and then they send you Bitcoin. So, but that also comes with risks, being you can send them money, and then they send you, then they just don't send you any Bitcoin. Or you could, like, they on their end would have more of a risk, because if they were to send you Bitcoin first, then that transaction is finalized. You can't, he can't rescind that transaction. So that's a risk on their end.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I have to admit that definitely brings up some concerns. I mean, it sounds easy enough, but at the same time, what concerns me about that is, like, for an example, if I'm doing a bank transfer, I know I'm going to have insurance backing my transfer. So I'm trying to figure out, like, why I would even take that risk in the first place. Like, what would make me choose to use Bitcoin and take that chance as opposed to, just doing my usual bank transfer.
Do you like banks controlling your money?
I never liked banks controlling my money. And in fact, my father told me my whole life to never accept that. So, but it's just what we got to do. I mean, isn't it?
No, not
I mean,
necessarily. Here's the thing. Essentially, what you're doing is you're giving a bank your own money, your own hard-earned money, for them to invest. That's
every
what
week.
you're doing.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single week. So every single week, they're making money off of you, and you're not seeing a dime out of it. On top of that, say if you take a little bit extra money by accident, they charge you fees.
Absolutely.
Or if you don't deposit enough within a certain amount of time, they'd still charge you fees for not having enough money.
Okay, well, there's definitely a good reason. I mean, I don't like getting charged fees, and I have to admit, even things such as, like, my income tax. Yeah, okay, you get that a little bit of money back at the end of the year, but from what I'm reporting, they're taking much more out of my check, obviously. Which actually kind of brings me to my next question. How does this work as far as the IRS goes? I mean, for an example, if I was able to make my income through Bitcoin, or if I was purchasing Bitcoin even just through whatever cash I had, does this need to be reported? And if I don't, would that cause an issue for me? Because I find that this is a big concern among a lot of friends of mine, honestly.
Well, here's the thing, okay? Think of it like stocks. That's the best analogy you can possibly use. Okay. If you are literally buying cryptocurrency with your fiat, right? With your dollars. Mm-hmm. If you are buying cryptocurrency, you're not paying tax, because you're essentially, think of it like you're buying a stock, right? When you buy a stock, you're not charged any taxes until you either make a trade for a different cryptocurrency, but like I said, that's something we can discuss later. Mm-hmm. Or you withdraw your Bitcoin and convert it to cash again, right?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but did you say raw your Bitcoin?
No, unless you sell your Bitcoin for cash.
Got you. Okay.
Right? So now, like I said, think of it like a stock. So say you buy a stock, and then the stock goes up 50%, right? Mm-hmm. And then you sell that stock for cash again, right? What happens at that point? The profit that you made is a capital gains tax. Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
The profit that you made is then taxed. Now, the difference between the amount that is taxed, right? Depends on how long you have held that stock or how long you've held that Bitcoin, right? Now, if you held it for under 1 year, you're charged a higher percentage of that capital gains tax. It's the short-term tax that's, I forget what percentage it is, but it's a higher percentage than you would have paid on like something you've held for over a year. So if you held that Bitcoin for over a year and you made 10 grand, you'd pay a lower percentage in tax than you would have, making say 5 grand in like 6 months. You know what I mean? So,
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, and so,
That's
like I said, that's the exact same way that stocks work. Is that if you pay more taxes on short-term trades than you would on long-term trades.
I mean, I definitely remember paying some taxes on stocks. I haven't invested recently, but I used to like to dabble a little bit, and yeah, capital gains and whatnot. I definitely remember paying. Don't ask me specifically what I did pay for. I had my accountant do that. I had my ex-fiance help out with that. But I definitely know I was paying on something there. And all right, well, that's pretty interesting. I mean, everything you just said there about Bitcoin, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to gather all of this right now and process. Oh, yeah. Right. As you can see, I'm a complete novice at this, and I'm trying to put it all together right now. And I feel like I see many benefits towards having it. I guess I'm just still trying to reach that point of understanding why. Or, well, let me put it to you this way. I'm speaking to, let's say, my buddy Joey at work right now, right? And I'm explaining to him how Bitcoin has so much potential. What was it? 2 years ago, it hit its peak, about 17,000, I believe. Something around. Wow, even more than I thought. From what I understand, it's easy to acquire if you understand how to. You'll be paying less taxes on it, possibly even no taxes. But while having this conversation with them, I feel like they get lost somewhere. Like as if it's all too much for them to gather. Like, they just want to come home, get their weekly check and just stay that way. How can I make an impression with them to understand that they should put the extra effort to do this? It would be easier. They'll make more money, pay less taxes. We spoke about that a little bit just now. What would you say is the biggest reason why the average person, blue-collar worker like me, should purchase Bitcoin or at least start working with it?
Well, the biggest reason why is because for every year you hold on to a single dollar, a U.S. dollar, it loses purchasing power because every single year they print more money.
Inflation.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Inflation, exactly.
Yes, that I know about, right.
And the funny thing is that the majority of money that's in circulation isn't even printed. So it's all numbers. It's literally all numbers in a computer. So the reason why you would invest in Bitcoin is because it's a store of value. There's a limited supply capped at 21 million. There's no more going to be made after that. And for every 2 years, the amount of Bitcoin that's released every 10 minutes is cut in half. So it's a deflationary model rather than an inflationary model. Over time, due to the increase in the network hash rate and everything like that, basically you're paying for computational security, right? The network that secures Bitcoin is what also gives it value, right? So you have this monetary unit that is completely secure, immune to double spending, which is a term that I can talk about later if you wish, and will always be backed by that computational power versus fiat currency or the US dollar, which is not backed by anything except for a government promise saying this is worth this much. That's it.
Right, which is pretty much the promise we get every year, and the dollar still tends to go down in value.
Well, it always will because they keep printing more. And literally, they could stop printing more right now, and it'll hold very little value because there's so much printed and so much issued.
Well, I mean, I guess a good example for that is the national debt. I mean, I just don't see how it's possible to.
Yeah, but I mean, look at certain countries that have hyperinflation, like Venezuela and all those other countries where, they print billion-dollar bills. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Okay. I had no idea they print billion-dollar bills. How do you even fit all those numbers on this?
You should see some of them. It's nuts. And it's absolutely crazy because, it's the currency is so inflated. Like, the funny thing is that in certain, like, I forget what country it was. I think it was a $1 billion bill. It was like $1 million bill, something like that. So it was basically to the point where they had to give you cash for your job. Like, as soon as you left work that day, they paid you in cash because of all the hyperinflation. I mean, it was like people.
So it was literally worth that little.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that little that they had to get cash on demand before leaving work to make sure that their dollar or their currency stayed afloat. It was worth something.
Yeah, like literally, they would leave work with suitcases filled with cash because it was just so worthless that that's how they had to do it. So,
I mean, as opposed to.
I'm not saying that, the U.S. currency is going to get to that point. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it's going to crash because fiat currency, if you look through the entire history of the world with fiat currency, it fails because of inflation. After a certain point, it's useless. It's worthless.
It does. In my experience and from what I've, studied over my time, usually the next Great Depression comes around that time. I mean, somehow the gold, money, U.S. cash is always stuck around. But, speaking of which, that reminds me, though, we used to be backed by the gold standard, and we're not anymore, are we?
Negative. It went
that's
from
right.
Gold backing to the gold standard, and then I believe it was Nixon. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Nixon that got us off the gold standard into fiat currency.
Oof, what a mistake.
The gold,
in fact,
the difference between, being backed by gold and the gold standard, right?
Well, I mean, I can only assume that being backed by the gold standard means that its value will be not compared, but almost. How do I put this? Why don't you just explain it further? Because I'm not going to explain it as well as you would. Go ahead.
Basically, I think it was after World War II, I want to say. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I believe it was after World War II where the U.S. basically said, well, we don't care what the rest of the world values gold at. We're going to value it at this and peg our dollar to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically it doubled the value of gold, of what the U.S. valued at gold at, just so that it can make our currency more valuable.
No kidding. That's you're a wealth of knowledge, let me tell you. That's great. I'm getting my own history lesson here today. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of sounds like then in that case, Bitcoin is in fact the next kind of powerful dollar. Then it sounds like to me, because it's not something that's going through inflation, like you said. There's only certain amounts.
Like a lot of people say, it's like digital gold, but instead of having a physical product, you have computational power that, with a network where, every transaction is on a public ledger, and literally you can see every transaction that happens, which some people is good, some people is bad.
I'm sorry, does that mean like I can or anyone can?
Anyone can.
Like oh really? So every transaction you make is public knowledge? Or they
Correct.
would
However, say you create a wallet, which I can get into in a little bit. If you were to create a wallet address, right? So that address is yours, so people use that to send you Bitcoin.
Right.
Those are the only things that are seen. Your name is not up there and nowhere to be found, right? So therefore, the only thing people see is this wallet address, send this wallet address, this much Bitcoin. That's it.
Oh, so that's the information that would be public knowledge.
Correct.
To that extent.
Exactly. So you can see what transactions are made between wallets and how it moves. And on top of that, there's like everything is finalized. There's no reversals of anything. Nobody can, at this point in the game, nobody can really feasibly go and attack Bitcoin and reorganize blocks to where they change the blockchain. Everything is finalized. You know what I mean? So there's
sort of.
Okay, so here's for example, right? Say you're a hacker, right? And
Yes.
you want to hack a bank and say that your account has $1 million in it, and then everyone else's account has $10 in it, right? You have to attack one source, that being the bank's servers, to be able to do that, right? And so, granted, it's really strong encryption and security, but if you're a really smart guy, you can do it, right?
Well, you hear scare stories about this happening all the time.
Granted, red flags will probably go off, and then they'll be like, oh, wait a second, what the hell? And they'll try to, they'll do their security measures and blah, 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 and then try to rectify the issue. But if you're a smart enough hacker, you can really damage some stuff. However, when you try to do that with Bitcoin has thousands of these things called nodes that verify transactions and process transactions, right? Now, say you're trying to attack Bitcoin and do the same thing, where, your wallet address has $1 million Bitcoin in it, and then everyone else's has 10, right? If you were to try to
which basically makes you a target. Sure.
Yep. If you were to try to do that, say you attack, 50 to 100 nodes, right, that process this information. What ends up happening is the rest of the network sees that, hey, these things are wrong, and compares it to every single other node. And if the majority of nodes agree that, hey, these 100 nodes are wrong, they wipe out that information on those nodes and correct it with the right information. So you would,
it's almost like having
over 51% of the entire network to actually do such damage, and that is not feasibly done by anybody. Maybe potentially if the governments come up with, say, such computational power to try and take over the network, but as of this point now, it's not feasible.
That's just not the case. So it sounds like Bitcoin and transactions done through it are, at least at this point, much safer than any bank transaction ever would be. That's what I'm gathering. I'm also gathering the fact that it sounds cheaper and less likely to go down in value due to inflation, overprinting of money. These are already two great things to know.
And here's another thing for you. You ever try to, send your friend money from your bank or do a bank transfer to another bank?
All the time. The time.
How long does that take?
Well, that depends. Now, if I want to do it for free, it'll take 3 to 5 days. If I want to rush it, takes a few bucks, on top of it. But yeah, there's usually some fee involved, and it takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah, or the other way to do it is, take out however much cash you want, which, sometimes a bank will question you if you take out too much. They'll say, "What are you doing with this money?" And
right. It's like having a third person there watching you all the time, and it's not something anybody appreciates.
Yeah, and then giving it to your friend, who then deposits said cash, and if they deposit too much money, they'll question him. Where did he get that money? Where's it coming from?
Of course.
Right?
Right.
With Bitcoin, all you have to do is just get your friend's wallet address, send him some Bitcoin, however much you want, and it's there 10 minutes later, or less, using the Lightning network and stuff. So it's
sent to a wallet.
Yeah, it just sends. Basically, think of it this way: you're your own bank. Your friend is his own bank. Everyone is their own bank. So
just through having one of these wallets.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like kind of in shock here. I'm trying to imagine how that works. I've seen a wallet. So a wallet is basically like having a bank account then, but it's your own. It's private. It's only you know about it.
Exactly. Nobody can steal your social security number and driver's license number and take your Bitcoin.
Are any of those things even required to get a wallet?
Nope, none.
So if I were to go about getting a wallet, what would that entail?
That would entail either you using your computer to download an Electrum wallet or using your phone to download, a mobile wallet of some sort like Coinomi or several other good wallets that are out there.
Are these things that I could find as an application, like on the Play Store?
Yep.
No shit. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but really, it's interesting. So it's that easy. I go on the Play Store, I get the app. That's for this wallet, as you just mentioned. I'm sorry, what were those names? Mention them again.
Coinomi is one of them. You can get Ethos, I believe, is available on mobile, and there's several other ones. Off the top of my head, I'd actually have to look it up because.
I assume there's many. Then I could just basically look up Bitcoin wallet and download it. It doesn't even have to be like one of the names you're mentioning, but.
Well, I would go with something that's trustworthy because, like anything in the Play Store, you can download something and get malware. There's been events that happen where you download an app and it puts either malware on your phone or like through the ads that it plays. Right, it can remove the data and things like that. So I would go with a trustworthy wallet service like Coinomi or Ethos is, like I said, a solid one. Or
so those have a solid reputation and something you would recommend above the rest that I would see there.
Correct. Yeah, and even Jax Liberty. Jax is really good. I've used them for a long time. So
excellent.
JAX Liberty.
JAX Liberty.
2 X's.
2 X's. Double X. Wow, I got to say, it's like I said, you're giving me a wealth of knowledge here. I just thought it would be a lot harder than this. All right, so let's say I do that. I get a Jax wallet. I set up my address, which is basically like having my own private bank account now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But so now what's missing? And now I need to get some Bitcoin. So, and you mentioned I can go on an exchange, I believe you said.
You can use an exchange, or you can use a service like Coinbase to buy some Bitcoin.
I've heard of Coinbase, right?
Yeah, Coinbase is I believe it's the largest onboarding service and offboarding service that crypto has at this point. Like they go for billions of dollars.
You know what? I would believe that because I've heard their name, I've seen it. I guarantee you, I must have run across it while just kind of dabbling a little bit. My question is this now, though. Okay, fine. You're safe with your address. Much safer than having a bank account. I could see that. Plus a lot less fees. But now we go buy Bitcoin on the exchange. I have to buy Bitcoin as I'm not a miner like you are. I would obviously have to purchase it, via fiat currency, USD dollars, as you said. So now does that transaction get recorded? Somehow, some way?
Yeah, it gets recorded by Coinbase, yes.
Because I know, once you're purchasing from the bank, let's say I'm purchasing from my checking account. Obviously, that's recorded right there and then. And then it's being purchased from Coinbase. So does that stop once I get to Coinbase, or does Coinbase have their own records? Do they require anything more from me other than like what my wallet requires from me? As far as my information goes?
No, but if you want to like you purchase Bitcoin on Coinbase, hold it for a while and then sell it. Now, as far as tax purposes go, you have to download the forms from Coinbase to do your taxes. So whether or not you make a profit or a loss, you have to download the documents to take with your taxes. Now,
okay, and that makes it okay because you're reporting your income, to get your tax returns, and I see. Okay.
Yeah, now the other thing is that if you buy Bitcoin but just don't sell it, you got nothing to worry about at this point because you don't have to write anything on your taxes because you haven't made or lost any money on it. You haven't sold that AKA stock or Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I've heard from a good friend of mine once. It's somebody a friend of mine that's done very well for himself, and he said something along the lines to me as if you actually lose money in an investment, like let's say Because what I'm kind of putting together here is, let's say I invested a certain amount of money in Bitcoin and the value went down. Worst case scenario, I could always say that I've lost money on this investment and the government owes me capital gains. Can't I?
Yeah, you can report your losses on your taxes with stocks and Bitcoin.
So reporting losses and gains. I mean, it seems like if you want to play this, as safe as possible, you can still do that even with Bitcoin, but there's just much more benefits to it.
Oh yeah, and keep in mind, Bitcoin is a lot more volatile than anything else, but it's got a proven track record of being, if you hold it, having your value increase more than anything else.
What do you call it? So it would normally just increase in value, or volatile as in day to day, it'll go up and down in large amounts.
Up and down. Then some days, like one day, I saw it jump from like 6,000 to like 8,000 to 10,000, and then another couple days I saw it drop from like 13 to 10,000, then down to like 7,300. So it's a
wow.
very
That's more than volatile.
Oh yeah.
That's the difference between getting rich in a day or not with some people. It's wow.
Oh yeah, but keep in mind, it's the best performing asset known to man.
How so? I haven't really kept up with how everybody else has done in comparison, but why would you say that?
Because over the 10-year, you take any asset over the period of 10 years, and none of it has increased as much as Bitcoin, even as low as it has gotten over the past year, which is like $3,200. Mm-hmm. Nothing has gone from basically pennies to $3,200 within 10 years.
I can't say there has. Even for my time dabbling in stocks, I'd be very lucky to make hundreds on the dollar at times. So that's great. Wow. Oh, yeah. Incredible. So, I'm standing here trying to find a reason to tell you that Bitcoin's wrong, and that's just not coming to me right now. So,
the only reason you could give is because the government says so.
I have to say, I tend to believe you're right about that, because I feel like everything I hear as far as the news goes and the radio goes, they're pretty much making us understand that Bitcoin could be gone tomorrow, or it can be regulated. And from what you explained to me, I'm seeing that that's not a possibility. At least not with what you explained as far as the security goes. I don't know. You didn't explain the blockchain to me, but I feel like I read something about that. What's the deal with the blockchain? That's what prevents it from from any issues really happening, isn't it? Can you explain further on what the blockchain is?
Yeah, sure thing. So the blockchain, what ends up happening is, for every transaction that's made, gets mm-hmm. recorded onto the blockchain, right?
Right.
Now, the blockchain is, like the name implies, a chain of blocks, right? Uh-huh. So all these transactions get filled into a block on that blockchain, right? Now, after 10 minutes, after all these miners using their computational power solve an algorithm, right? Mm-hmm. Then all those transactions are recorded in stone on that block and put at the end of the blockchain. Then the next round of transactions go into the next block, right? So every 10 minutes, there's another block added to the blockchain filled with transactions, right?
And this is a repetitive process that goes over and over.
Yep, 24/7, 365 for the foreseeable future.
So if nothing's staying the same, nothing can necessarily really be recorded then. That it's basically like having no history.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like no history as far as for an example, making bank transactions. There's a history of transactions that get recorded. But from what I understand with the blockchain, it's almost as if it keeps modifying itself and changing. So how?
No, not really. So essentially, what happens is after all those transactions get recorded onto a block and added to the blockchain, mm-hmm. that string of blocks that is from that point and previous is set in stone, right? So nothing can be modified in that blockchain at all, unless somebody basically takes over 51% of the network, which is near impossible.
And that's the only way to enter that blockchain, get that information.
No, that's the only way you can modify the information on that blockchain. That's it. So like I said, all that information is set in stone. And then all the next round of transactions after 10 minutes, fill up a block and put on the end of the blockchain.
No kidding. That sounds pretty secure to me. Wow. Okay. So you know what? Let's say you won me over right here, and I decide tonight I'm going to go get my wallet. I'm going to find a good exchange. I'm going to now invest something in Bitcoin, and from that point on, now I want to start keeping my money in there. How would I go about turning all my money into that? Like, would I be able to approach my boss and say, okay, basically I want to get paid in Bitcoin right now, or do they have to, or is this something I have to do all on my own?
Guarantee you, just about any employer is going to tell you no, because that requires work on their.
Right. So it would have to be an option that they offer.
Yeah, exactly. Now keep in mind that if this was all money that you didn't care about, then by all means throw all that in there. But I'm assuming that you're probably going to need some of that money from your paycheck day to day and for bills and all this, correct?
Yep.
In that, knowing that, there's an old phrase that keeps coming around. Only invest what you're comfortable with losing. You know what I mean?
So you would recommend rather than making a full change over to Bitcoin, I should only put what I can afford to lose at this moment.
Correct. Because over time, like say for example, okay, I'll give you an example with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my 401k, I don't have one. All that money that would go toward my 401k goes toward crypto.
Okay.
I've made more money with crypto than I would have with my 401k over the past several years.
Sure, yeah, I could see that if you invested back then. Okay.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a risk. Holy shit. I wouldn't have been scared to do that.
But at the same time, right, what happens with that 401k, and you'd be lucky if your company matches anything, right? So
sure.
Basically what you're doing is you're taking your money, right, throwing it into a 401k for investors to invest and do whatever with, right? You're paying your taxes later on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So later on, obviously taxes will always go up because they always do.
Right, so on top of it all. Right.
So at the end of the day, you'll be paying more in taxes. That's why a Roth IRA is generally smarter anyways to go into. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with just this right now. Yeah, right? But so anyways, definitely all good.
With your 401k, right, you put all this money into it, and then say you're like 53 years old, and then you're like, you know what, I have a ton of money. For some reason, I have a ton of money in my 401k. Let me withdraw it. Nope, you can't. Well, why not? Because you'll pay heavy penalties for withdrawing it early.
That's right. That's right.
But it's my own money. Well, I don't care. You'll pay heavy penalties because, you're giving us money and the government says no. Sorry.
Brings up that example about the bank controlling everything that you mentioned earlier. Absolutely. Wow.
And this isn't even getting into the privacy aspect of anything, because the thing is that, well, actually, let me save that for a little bit later because that's a huge topic too. But yeah, so aside from that, any way you look at it, your money's being taken from you one way or another. If you have a 401k and you're trying to save, it's taken from you.
Absolutely.
For example,
state taxes, federal taxes, transfers, anything you do, they have their hand on everything. That much I know because I've been dealing with it every single day of my life. Sometimes I come home from work and I just feel like I didn't. Well, actually, I didn't. At times, I didn't work for myself because they take pretty much 2 out of every 5 days of my week. That all goes to taxes. So I'm pretty much working for the government, almost half my time, a little less than half my time, which I have to say frustrates me at times. I like to consider myself a patriot, everything like that, but it's quite a lot that they take from us.
Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
You saw I was holding back there. Look, they take a lot from us. We're hard workers. I'm a hard worker myself, and I really feel beaten down at times when I see my paycheck come in, and I see those taxes taken off. Not only that, even if I decide to put the extra effort, put the overtime in, and get my pay in a half, they take even more taxes out of my check. So it's like I have to work 2 extra days of, time and a half just to really make it worth it. and then I end up doing a full week because of it.
Oh yeah,
And
but here's the thing. Here's the kicker, right? So you'll pay more in taxes up front, and at the end of the year, the government will say, well, we took too much taxes out. Here's your refund, right? So in other
yes,
words, they're holding your money until you say, well, you collected too much.
right.
Give me some back. Okay, we'll give you that back, right?
And
Now,
I've actually had that happen to me.
how much are they paying you to hold your money?
How much are they paying me to hold my money?
Yeah.
Nothing. They're not paying me anything for that. I'm paying them.
Hell, at least with the bank, you get what, maybe 0.25%.
Right. Yeah. You get some minor amount. Yeah, for keeping it, maybe say a savings account or something, or a money market account. Nothing worthwhile,
like
but
a CD or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
literally, they're holding your money for nothing. So it's interest free. You're basically giving them an interest free loan that at the end of the year or beginning of the following year, they give you it back. Hopefully.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm thinking about what this could change. The implications of all of this is, wow. It's pretty extraordinary. I mean, the money you'll be saving in income tax alone, the transactions without the heavy fees, what we were just speaking of right now. I mean, put all of this together. Somebody doing this on a larger basis in a whole, like somebody who makes a much larger income than I do and actually owns a business and is able to switch over from his cash dealings to Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made here.
Oh, yeah. But now, don't get me wrong. There are downsides. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Right?
How so?
Well, here's the thing. Do you think, I mean, this is kind of an ass of a question, but do you think the average person is capable of being their own bank?
No, I could tell you that right up front. I mean, I know this because the average person that I deal with every day pretty much has absolutely no interest when I start speaking to them about how I think they should handle their banking or how I handle it. I find it interesting, and I like to save $1 here, $1 there, but yeah, they just like the process and the way it works, and they're happy with it, and they go on with their lives. So no.
Yeah, exactly. So, like me personally, I wouldn't really trust the average Joe with, say, handling Bitcoin, because here's the thing, is that if somebody scams them or hacks their computer because they're careless about things, or hacks their phone or steals their phone, whatever, and they don't password protect things like they should or encrypt things like they should or things like that.
Right, which is something I need to catch up on. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, at least have a basic level of security, just a basic level, right?
And what would be considered a basic level of security? You don't mind me asking?
Yeah, like password protecting your wallet. Or
okay, so you buy a wallet, but you also need to password protect it.
Well, and some the applications that I told you to, that are wallets, you can password protect it, right?
Oh, they actually offer that option when you get them.
Yeah, like for example, with Coinomi, I know there's an Ethos, there's a login process, and then with Jax, you can password protect it to where if you can log in and see your stuff. But if you want to send anything, it requires that password.
Oh, okay. All right. So if somebody happens to infiltrate my wallet, they would need to know that password in order to actually transfer any funds out of it.
Exactly. And now the second step that would need to be done by everybody, and it's stupid too, because there are still some people that are in crypto that have been in for quite a while that don't do this. And that's write down your private key, right? So what a private key is basically direct access to that wallet address, right? You could have 50 wallet addresses. Each and every one has an individual private key, right?
I see. Okay.
So if you were to say, for example, write down your private key and then tomorrow throw your phone in an ocean, right? Can't find your phone anymore, can't recover any data, right?
Right.
All you need to do is get another phone or, hell, even go on your computer, right? And then download a wallet. Any wallet, doesn't matter as long as it accepts Bitcoin.
I see where you're going with this.
and then
Right.
and then import that private key. Boom, there's your wallet.
I see. So it's almost like losing your applications or like your Chase account on your phone, like you said. You lose it for whatever reason. However, you have your own personal private key password that you can always get those funds back. You will not lose them.
Correct. Now, and like I said, me not trusting the average Joe to be their own bank, most people lose that piece of paper or, just just forget about it and just.
Well, I can tell you that's me. As safe as I like to be, I write my passwords down on everything. I end up throwing it in a drawer, throwing out my furniture. So,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. What I do personally is I make a backup of my wallet file itself. There's a wallet.dat file that you can make a backup of on your computer. And then also what you can do is, open up a text editor or whatever, right? Like a notepad on a computer.
Notepad. Okay, yeah, I know of that.
Yeah, copy and paste your private key into that, save it. And what I do personally is I do all that stuff and then save it on a stick drive that I have hidden, and then also on a backup drive that I store in a completely separate place that I know is 100% secure, right?
So it's like you're being safe on multiple fronts. You have your separate little thumb drive that you could put pretty much anywhere. I mean, put it in a safe, whatever, it's small enough, but put it in a safe place. Among these other ways of storing it and being just in case. So like, let's say I lose that thumb drive. I still would have that file backup that you were explaining that you would put in Notepad.
Yeah, you would still have it on your backup drive somewhere safe.
And it wouldn't matter if like my house went on fire and it burned in a fire, that thumb drive at least.
Yeah, if that thumb drive burnt in a fire and is completely toast, but your backup drive is somewhere safe, all you got to do is just download a wallet on a new computer and then just import your private key. You're done.
That's pretty safe. I mean, it's safer than cash, actually. You have cash in your house, you're kind of screwed if your house goes on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
good. And here's the other thing, too, that some people still do, which is stupid, right? There's another saying in crypto where not your keys, not your coins, right? And what that means is if you don't physically have your own private keys to a wallet, technically it's not your coins. Whoever holds that private key, technically it's their coins, right? So for example, if I were to trade Bitcoin, right? If I were to go on an exchange and want to buy something else with my Bitcoin, right? So I send my Bitcoin to an exchange, right? Now that exchange holds the private keys to the wallet that you send it to, right? So when you log in, yeah, sure, it's there, but who's to say that the exchange disappears tomorrow, right? You don't have
good point.
You don't have the private keys to that wallet, therefore it's gone. There's no way you're going to be able to recover it.
Well, I mean, I guess you could look at that in two different ways. I mean, there are some people that would say, I'm a little scared to know that if I lose my private key, I could lose everything. But if you really think about it, it's a much safer thing to have, because if you just make sure you take care of that private key or do your, really do your due diligence, as you were saying, make an extra backup file, you'll never lose it. It'll be an impossibility, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it this way, too. Say, for example, that, you're giving your friend cash, right? And he's holding on to it. Technically, it's his cash. You don't.
Right. So whoever's hands it's in owns it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I lost you there. Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, the whole cash thing, yeah. So if you don't physically have your cash, technically it's not yours. Just the same way as if you don't have your private keys, technically the Bitcoin isn't yours, or whatever currency that you have.
So it's really up to the person. I mean, it would be up to me to keep it safe and to just, like I said, do my due diligence on it. I mean, I can't think of any safer way, because I've had so many people over the years tell me that if only I could watch my own money somehow, and keep it safe. I think that's why a lot of people like to keep cash in the home or, under the mattress, as they say, that old saying goes, because they feel that they can protect it more so themselves. I kind of feel like you could do the same thing with Bitcoin here. but in multiple ways.
100%, because no way somebody's going to get into your wallet if they don't have the private keys. And the only way somebody can get into your get your private keys is either they hack you or you give it to them, or they own the private keys and you just send it to them in the thinking that they'll hold it for you, just like an exchange would.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wow. So it's safe, it's secure. How about the transaction timing? I've heard from people that they do a transaction on Bitcoin, like sending it to a person, and it's instant. Like we were talking about earlier. You don't have to wait those 3 days, 5 days.
Well, it's a hell of a lot shorter than waiting 3 to 5 days, I'll tell you that. But
I mean,
if
yeah,
I were
of
to
course.
send, for example, if I were to send Loots over there, some Bitcoin, like I have before, generally it takes like a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes to show up on like a few minutes to show up on the Block Explorer, meaning the Block Explorer is basically what shows all the transactions and everything, all the whole history of Bitcoin, right?
I see.
We should do a live example right now, bro. I'll give you my address. Hold on.
Cool. There you go. Now, do you think it matters as far as does it matter how much you send? Like if I send a large amount of money, if I have, my friend Joe Schmo from, the California sending me a lump sum of like $500K, would that transaction take longer than him sending me $50?
Theoretically, no. It all depends on the congestion of the network. Because, I mean, if there's a lot of transactions, like thousands of transactions going on, it may take a little bit longer. For confirmation, right? So
Right.
once that transmit is sent on his end to send you 500K worth of Bitcoin, it shouldn't take too long for that to appear on the Block Explorer. Now,
so it has to do with how busy the network is. It has nothing to do necessarily with the amount you're sending.
Correct. I mean, there's a real. It gets more technical than that. There's a second layer of settlements that's on Bitcoin, but that's for another day.
Well, let me put it to you this way: it's not like it'll take a day because it's a large transaction. It'll just take a little bit longer.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that the cool thing about Bitcoin is that say you were to send a transaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it appears on the Block Explorer, but it's not confirmed yet, right? Confirmed means it's written into the blockchain, right?
Okay.
So it's in queue to be written into the blockchain.
Okay.
And once it's written, you'll see a confirmation. It'll say one confirmation, right? That means that it's been put into a block and that block's been added to the blockchain.
And you'll see this on your transaction.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So you actually see it live time as it's happening. You're not just waiting to get a confirmation, basically.
Correct.
Great. All right. So right there's another thing that I was going to argue upon, which, but I can't. Let's say I want to, send money from overseas. For an example, internationally. Does that matter whether it's national or international, or is it the same process all over the world?
Internet?
Yes, I do.
Does the other person have internet?
Yes, they would.
Then, yeah, it'll be the same time.
All right. That was simple.
Let me back up a second. Even if they didn't have internet, but they had a wallet address, same time. It doesn't matter.
So if I have a friend on the other side of the world that goes into a cafe because he lost his computer that day, he could get into his account and he could still make that transfer with me and still conduct business.
Well, he doesn't even need to be online. Literally, all you have to do is have his wallet address and you send it to his wallet, and he can check his phone 3 days later if he wanted to, and there'll be like, 100 and something confirmations on that transaction.
Wow,
so
it's excellent.
So as long as the person who's sending the funds has internet, you can send it to anybody in the world. Doesn't matter. Takes the same amount of time everywhere.
Sounds great to me. Wow.
What's that?
It's something that I kind of heard recently, which is that Bitcoin is not so anonymous anymore. I actually heard the term pseudo-anonymous. If you can maybe elaborate on that.
So
thanks.
Here's the thing. The downside of a public ledger like Bitcoin is that you can see every single transaction that has ever happened, right? So say, for example, I know your wallet address, right? I can
Right.
see how much Bitcoin you have in your wallet address. I can see what transactions you've made. I can see
Oh,
the
you
dates
even
of
know
those
how
transactions.
much?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, 100%.
Uh-huh.
Everything is absolutely.
I'm not even sure how I feel about that. That's like, I mean, I could see why that would be a safe thing, but on the other hand, it's kind of like somebody knowing how much you're holding on to.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, that's with the assumption that I know your address, right?
Oh, that's true.
So
Right.
if I were to send you Bitcoin, like the safest way to, I mean, it's not even safe to do this either. Like if you were to say have two addresses, pretend it's your checking account, your savings account. Your savings account, you store all your money. Your checking account, you use to just make daily transactions, right? Now,
Correct.
the thing is that there's something called traceability, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I were to send you a transaction, you give me your checking account address, I were to send you money or Bitcoin, right?
Right.
Now, I send it to you, and then I can look at your wallet and see what transactions you're making, right? So if I see that you make a lot of transactions toward a single address, I can safely assume that that address right there is where you store all your Bitcoin. So then I can look at that address and see how much Bitcoin you have. And
Of
then I
course.
can see, wow, yeah, he stores all of his Bitcoin there. Now think of it for nefarious purposes, right? So if I were somebody that had nefarious intentions, I could reasonably assume that because you have that one address and you keep sending money to this other address and you have a large amount of Bitcoin, I could just
Right. You follow a pattern.
and then just torture you until you give me your private keys, or you just give me your phone unlocked with your Bitcoin in it, and then just send it somewhere else and you'll never see it again.
Wow.
Or
Yeah.
even
Yeah. Absolutely.
in some cases, the government coming in, and because say you're doing nefarious things with said Bitcoin, the government can come in and say, well, we're seizing all your stuff, and you just happen to have your private keys there or your wallet there. And because they see all these transactions coming from your wallets,
Right.
they can start tracing that down. So if you say you made a transaction to buy something illegal from somebody that has a Bitcoin address, and they can pinpoint that person with their Bitcoin address, they can safely say, well, you were transacting, doing illegal things or buying illegal things from said person, and we can see the transaction right here. There's our proof, right?
I
Now,
see.
here's the other thing. Here's the flip side of that too, right? So say you weren't doing anything nefarious, but the person you happen to be sending Bitcoin to was doing something nefarious. Now you're linked with that person.
It's guilt by association.
Yep.
Wow. So it kind of seems like there's a lot to think about, but at the same time, from what I'm understanding, if you're just smart and you really think it through, you can do this safely. Like for an example, if you you need to have this knowledge, and that's why I think it's great that I'm picking up all of this here today, because like I said, you taught me so many things within the last hour here, and I've been dabbling for years. So first of all, thank you for all of this. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, for an example, with the accounts, like if somebody sees you repeating purchases on your account, making transactions constantly with the same address, you can get multiple addresses, it sounds like. Can you not? You don't have to be so obvious about it. So if you're making a transaction with a particular person and he has that address, you could just make a wallet for him to deal business with him or that company, let's say. Is that possible?
Oh, true. Yeah, that is very true. But also, then in most cases, you can see the IP address of the person you're making that transaction with. So if the government can trace down that IP, or somebody can trace down that IP, they can. I mean, there's ways around it, but in most cases, they can figure out who you're making transactions with. There's a lot of data analysis.
I feel like there's always a way that they can still catch up to you. If you don't mind me asking, were you talking about a VPN address? Is that something that maybe you feel is required?
Yeah, that's something that, VPN addresses protect you up to a certain point, but it's not foolproof. It helps, but it's not foolproof.
So all these commercials I see about NordVPN, Something Express, it doesn't mean they're completely foolproof.
Yeah, I mean, Nord, I forget what happened recently with Nord, but I mean, I use Nord, but now I'm actually going to stop using Nord. I forget the exact article that came out, but it had to do with either selling data or doing something with their data.
Really?
And it's really, really shady. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to use that
Sounds
anymore.
shady to me.
But,
I mean, from what I saw in the commercials, it seemed like it was such a reputable company.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really was, but I forget. I mean, I have to do some research again to figure out why I remember that being pretty terrible.
That's fine. I'm trying to kind of work out in my head the basic security that I should have. Do you think that's something basic I should have? VPN, if I start getting into Bitcoin, I go on the exchange, I make a wallet, anything I'm doing through the internet, should I purchase one of these services to be,
Proton.
just to be sure?
Yeah,
Proton
I would.
cool.
Say that again?
Proton VPN?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like
Yep.
what I was about to say was just make sure you do your research, like in-depth research on VPNs, and make sure that the one you're getting is solid. So,
all right. So basically go on the internet, look up some reviews on it, see how well it's doing, how safe they are. And anyone can figure that out.
It protects you up to a certain point because you can still kind of be traced even if you're using a VPN. I forget the exact structure of how the government fits in with the internet service providers with your VPN, also this stuff, but it's still.
So they say they don't log your activity, but there's never any way of actually knowing that. So that's why they say have multiple VPNs. So one isn't enough.
Multiple.
You should have like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, but there's stuff that you can do to increase your privacy, and that would be investing in privacy coins, specifically
I'm sorry. That's kind of why. I'm sorry not to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, for like something like PirateChain, which is the most anonymous cryptocurrency in the market. Literally,
PirateChain. Yes, can we touch on that? Because again, like I said, with the dabbling that I do, I heard that PirateChain actually is a lot safer than Bitcoin. Something about a 99.9%, what do you call it, security rating on it, that it's basically impenetrable up to that point. Is that true?
Well, here's the thing. The 99.9% number comes from its anonymity set, right? So when that currency is mined, right, meaning like it's validating transactions, all this other stuff, everything that miners do, that the block reward that comes with it goes into a transparent address, and then after that is sent to Z addresses. A Z address is a private address that PirateChain use, right? So from that point on, once it goes into the Z address, nothing can be seen, right? So say you have a million million R, which is the ticker for PirateChain, right? Think of it like a stock. So if you have a million R in one of your addresses, nobody can see it. Nobody knows how much you have, what transactions you made, who you sent it to, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Whoa, so whatever little concern I had about Bitcoin before, you kind of just wipe the floor with it now. With PirateCoin.
So what ends up happening is there's other privacy coins out there, but they're traceable. For example, when you look at Monero, their anon set is 11, meaning that the best thing you can really have privacy-wise with Monero is plausible deniability, right? So it makes a bunch of different fake transactions along with your transaction and it's all stealth addresses and everything. But the problem is that it can be traced up to a certain point.
So it could still be found. Like you said, there's plausible deniability. Basically, it didn't happen between you and whoever or whatever's going on. But it's there, and it can be traced.
Yes. Now, with PirateChain, none of that metadata is leaked. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So nobody can see how much you transferred to somebody else. Nobody can see your wallet addresses, nothing. And it's all done with this mathematical calculation that's called ZK snarks, which for the life of me, I can never remember the exact wording of the acronym. But basically what it does is it uses zero knowledge proofs. It's basically a mathematical formula that I can say I know that what you're like, if you're sending me, say, PirateChain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It essentially says, without looking at the amount you're sending me, I can mathematically prove that what you're sending me is that amount.
Wow, no kidding.
It's the strongest privacy in crypto. And
That's
Zcash, which was the project that uses that type of technology, the reason why they're not the most private is because they allow transparent addresses, right? So think of it like Bitcoin, where you can see all these transactions happening, you can see wallet amounts and everything, but unless you send something to somebody through the shielded address, which is the Z address, I can see everything. But even so, even if you send a transaction from your address to a Z address, they can still see that somebody sent something to an unknown address. So that's still traceable, right?
And this Zcash and Monero you're talking about, these are other crypto coins, I'm assuming, that you're speaking of.
They are two of the most well-known and biggest privacy coins out there.
I mean, I've gone on websites and I've made purchases and I've seen the option to use Monero. That much I do remember. So most likely Zcash as well. It's just not coming to me right now. What I'm just kind of wondering right now is, to get any of those crypto coins or to get the security such as you would get with Pirate, you would have to purchase it still with Bitcoin, though, wouldn't you? Which is still safer than cash, but
yes.
So like, what I'm wondering is, if the Bitcoin can still somehow be traced, you need to, you still need to start with Bitcoin. So how do we, how do we prevent that? How do we prevent that from happening? Or can Pirate Coin just be, directly purchased? No, you can't. Through cash would be even worse. So I think you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that, say for example, like there is a way to purchase PirateChain without using Bitcoin, and that's using an exchange on ramp. I think it's called GraviX, and they allow the purchasing of crypto, of anything that they offer on the exchange, and basically it's a decent way to do it. It's similar to Coinbase, but it's not nearly as secure and things like that. But it's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, if you wanted to really do an OTC transaction, like basically what you would do at that point is you would get a trusted third party to be basically the mediary, right? So if you and another person wanted to do a transaction and purchase PirateChain, then what you would do is basically that person sends, say, me PirateChain, and then you would send that person money.
Okay.
And then from that point, once that person receives the money, then I would release the PirateChain.
So it's like a peer-to-peer transaction, except there's a third-party mediator involved.
Correct. But that's also another problem if, say, one person doesn't trust that third party.
That was going to be my next point, right?
Yeah. So basically, at this point in time, it's actually kind of hard not to use Bitcoin to really buy any asset. You know what I mean? Because any asset can be traded in Bitcoin. Basically onboarding with PirateChain. So yeah, any asset can be purchased with Bitcoin. So if you had Bitcoin somehow, then you can purchase PirateChain. Now, also,
that's a good point too, actually.
What I forgot to mention earlier was that there are Bitcoin ATMs, right? So you can go to an ATM. If you have a wallet address, say like the one
I've heard about these.
Yeah, so you can go to a Bitcoin ATM, insert cash, and then input the wallet address that you want it sent to, and then it'll send you Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. All right. There's another way. I didn't think about that. I mean, I feel like they're very rare and few between. I haven't seen any at my local supermarket, for an example. But I assume if I look online, it'll show me the locations to these ATMs?
Yeah. Now,
right, well, that's easy enough.
Like a legit website that says, we're a legit ATM. Because, there's always, keep in mind, no matter what you do online, there's always going to be scammers. So you always got to be, you always got to be extra careful with anything, Bitcoin or cash or anything in general. You know what I mean? Like even Craigslist. You got to make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that you meet in a public place and take extra precautions just in case the guy or the girl that you're meeting with is legit.
I've heard I've heard horror stories about Craigslist. I mean, I've heard stories about people going to purchase a vehicle, a used Toyota Corolla for like $3,000. They show up with the cash on them, and they end up getting jumped.
Oh, there's things just as bad, and it's completely legal too.
I guess the fact of the matter is you just got to be safe with everything. And I mean, I got to tell you, if I was dealing, especially with a larger quantity of money, and dealing in anything like you said, whether it was a website like Craigslist or banks and my money in transactions or Bitcoin, maybe it's just me, but I would always take more precaution. I guess it's just good to see how to do that when it comes to this.
Yeah. Have you heard of, I mean, this is on the same topic, but have you heard of civil forfeiture?
I have. I couldn't tell you exactly what that's about, but I've had some friends mention that to me. Yes.
It's essentially legalized robbery. So what happens is, say, like the whole reason why I thought of this is because you brought up, bringing cash to buy a car, right?
Right.
So say you're carrying around $3,000, $5,000, whatever, to go buy a car from somebody on Craigslist, or say you bought something on eBay or something, right? And you're going to meet the person to pay in cash. Mm-hmm. Say a cop pulls you over because maybe you're going a little too fast or you didn't use your signal, whatever the case, right? Sometimes we'll ask you, do you have any large sums of money in the car? And you being an upstanding citizen and following every single rule, say, yes, I do. Okay.
Honestly, I would pull the wad out of my pocket and show them.
Yeah. And then from that point, they can legally determine that you are going to use that money for illegal purposes and seize that money, right?
What?
Now, 100%. So
gotta be shitting me.
What happens at that point is not only do you have to go to court to fight for your money, but you are not on trial. Your money is. So you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that your money was not intended for illegal purposes. And
whoa.
It's impossible to do because basically it's your money that's basically in court, not you.
So how do you even fight something like that? If you're not on trial and your money's on trial, what do you have to go get a lawyer for your money? I mean, how does that work?
Well, you can. I mean, generally, if you have like a couple of grand in your pocket, it's going to cost you more money to.
So it's not even worth it.
Yeah,
in most cases.
So most cases, people just say whatever, it's done, it's gone.
That's like that doesn't make sense. That's a crazy bad loophole. I feel like in the system. I mean,
and it's 100% legal.
And this is happening.
And in some states, your property or money goes toward whatever police department that seized it. Right? Some get to keep up to 100% of that value. So what ends up happening at that point, they use that for whatever they want. Literally, they can buy.
You have to be kidding me.
No, 100%.
Wow. Oh my God. And this is national. This is in every state, or this is just in certain states every state.
It just the only difference between
I had no idea
how much they get to keep. Now think of this. Right? So what if you were going to buy a car, and then you have Bitcoin on your phone? What are they going to do? You don't have any cash on you, so
they won't even find it.
Yeah, they can't seize anything, right? So
I didn't know about this whole civil forfeiture thing, but knowing this now, it's another safety protocol that one should take. I feel like I would feel much safer traveling across wherever I need to get, whether it's to buy a car, to go visit my aunt in Vermont, whatever the case may be. I would feel safer knowing I had that in a wallet, on my phone, whatever, even in a little thumb drive hidden somewhere in my car, as opposed to having cash on me if this is something that they've been doing. I mean, just, wow.
I can send you some videos and some articles on this stuff, and this is just the beginning of the rabbit hole too when it comes to civil forfeiture. It gets way
I'd love
worse.
to hear about it. I mean, this is interesting. I'm going to look this up tonight. Incredible. Wow.
Yeah,
and they're using it for their own benefit. Crazy.
Yep, exactly. So,
wow.
Going back to privacy, like I said, PirateChain is the most private cryptocurrency in the market. Can't be traced, nothing. So the best thing about it is the fact that literally nobody knows anything about what you do with your own money, which is how it should be. It's literally like dealing in cash. Like if I were to say, give you $1, nobody knows about that transaction except for me and you.
Absolutely.
Especially if there's nobody around, right? Nobody can trace that. Nobody knows where you got that dollar from. And think of it this way too, with the way zero knowledge proofs work, and comparing that to, say, Monero. Think of it this way. Say I take $1, and say I'm using Monero. I take $1 and I have 11 cups on the table flipped upside down, right? I put that dollar underneath the cup, mix it all around, and then give you all the cups. You know which cup it's under, but people looking would have to guess which cup was actually the real cup that had the money in it, right? The way PirateChain works is I have $1 in my hand and you're standing somewhere else, right? That dollar disappears from my hand and appears in yours. Nobody knows where it went.
That's a major difference because there's still a chance. It's kind of like playing the lottery or going to a casino. Somebody could still, pick the right cup. As opposed to that. That's big difference.
Let me go one step further. Actually, it's not like having it in your hand. It's like having it in your pocket where nobody can see.
Even better.
And it appearing in your pocket, which nobody can see.
So, I mean, PirateCoin kind of sounds like the safe choice to me. And as far as everything else, like speed on transactions, that's just as quick, I'm assuming, as, even faster.
So think of it this way, right? PirateChain has 1 minute block times, meaning that every single minute, a block of information, aka transactions, is added to the end of the blockchain. Bitcoin takes 10 minutes to add a block. So for one confirmation for Bitcoin takes 10 minutes, maybe sometimes more, whereas PirateChain takes 1 minute, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more.
Right. So it's instant. That's basically having an instant transaction. That's call your buddy. Let's do this now. Boom. He's going to have it there instantly.
Yep, exactly. So literally, I sent somebody some PirateChain actually yesterday, and it took them. I think it was just over a minute. He's like, got it. I'm like, cool.
It's pretty quick. That's definitely quick.
Oh yeah!
Wow, it's unbelievable how technology has changed. The way that banking, I feel, should be changing now too. I mean, I honestly think it's why people like me are starting to pay attention to things like this. It's a whole new era. I mean, when the internet came out, that was the big thing. The World Wide Web, AOL came out. I honestly feel like this is the next big thing because I don't care what I've heard in the radio and what I've seen. Bitcoin never went away. In fact, it's just expanded from that point on. And even better, alternate currencies, cryptocurrencies, such as Pirate, as you have explained, are coming out and kind of beating it in different ways from what I'm understanding. Everything from security to speed to, I don't. Is it possible for a coin to get so good that coin ends up being the next standard? Like, can anything beat Bitcoin?
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of debate among this. And in my personal view, I see Bitcoin, going into more and more developments and things like that and being added to with different technologies and different, like different code to the point where it's better than what it is now. But in my personal opinion, it's going to be more of a store of value rather than an asset that is constantly traded or constantly used. You know what I mean? So, for example, if, think of it like this, like say you wanted to make sure that the money in your pocket right now stays at the same value or maybe goes up or whatever, you can buy some actual physical gold. If you were to hold on to that physical gold, you know that that's going to hold its value, whereas your dollar is not, right? So I see Bitcoin as more of a gold or digital gold or a store of value to where it helps give other things value. You know what I mean?
Well, that makes sense. It's like I hold on to all my gold, my whether it's a family heirloom or bracelets and jewelry, because I know it holds value. I know it'll go up over time, even if it goes down in the short term, but it'll always basically hold. I mean, the world's not building more gold. It'll just, decrease as time goes on, and the value will go up. So it's a great example. Absolutely.
And let me make 2 quick points, actually, because you mentioned security before, right? Remember how I said it's nearly impossible to reorganize the blocks and change the blockchain in Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
That's what's called a 51% attack. A 51% attack is when somebody overtakes the majority hash rate of that blockchain and then is able to reorganize the blocks and change the blocks to whatever they want, right? So that's one of the things that is most cryptocurrencies today are prone to, right? Some people just say, oh, well, it's just overblown. No, it's not, because realistically, most cryptocurrencies out there can be attacked with them and then like have their data changed, and then therefore their history of data, or most of it, is just useless at that point because it's not true, right? Now, the awesome thing about PirateChain is the fact that it actually prevents this by not using something called delayed proof of work, right? Now, the easiest way for me to explain this is that think of it like a checkpoint, right? So a checkpoint being, like, for example, in a video game, right? You get to a checkpoint, it saves all your data previous to that checkpoint, right?
Right.
That checkpoint for PirateChain is notarized into the Komodo blockchain, which is an even bigger blockchain than PirateChain is, right? So it notarizes that data inside there, and then from that point, Komodo notarizes its data into the Bitcoin blockchain, right? So
no kidding.
So not only will you have to attack PirateChain, not only would you have to have 51% of the hash rate of PirateChain, you would have to have 51% of the hash rate of Komodo and 51% of the hash rate of Bitcoin just to change any blocks in PirateChain.
Wow. Okay, I could see why it's much more secure. I mean, that makes it a whole lot harder to do. I mean, Bitcoin was tough enough in itself, but going through that process as well, it's kind of like going through 2 other guys to get to Bitcoin, and that's a lot safer to me. Wow.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I had no idea how technical, how detailed this gets. I mean, it's like layer and layer upon protection.
And put it this way, I've been in crypto for several years, and I'm still learning so
several
much
years?
stuff.
I would have said 20 years at least, minimum by now. Yeah, it's what you know is just incredible to me.
There's concepts that are just way above my head. It's just so out there, and like there's so many people in blockchain technology today that are coming up with so much awesome stuff that it's just mind-blowing just thinking about.
And there will be more, because, I mean, Bitcoin came out, you know what, you would know, I wouldn't. How long ago? About how long ago?
Over 10 years. Just over 10 years.
That's baby years. That's not long enough for the generations to catch up. So as the next generation comes in and the one thereafter, they're just going to get more interested in this, learn more about this, and it will just keep going up and up from that point on. And, new discoveries, new technology. It's really amazing. It's just amazing.
And let me make one more point too that I actually meant to make before about privacy, right? Now, like I said, nobody can tell you what you're spending, who you're transacting with, how much you have, all that other stuff, right? Now, the biggest advantage to that is, for example, say you were to buy something on eBay or Amazon, whatever, right? Who knows about it? The site, your bank, the government, people who can look into that data, like data analysts or, other merchants that they sell that data to, everything.
Sure.
Right? Now, and say you want to buy something that's really personal. Say you want to buy a freaking sex toy, whatever, right? Everyone knows
sexy panties or
exactly. And all these people know about it. I mean, you have zero privacy when it comes to your transactions.
That's a good point.
Whereas with PirateChain or privacy coins, I would say some privacy coins, because like I said, some are traceable. With PirateChain, you can literally purchase something on the internet, like say from my store, because I also own a coin shop, right? Like I make physical coins and things like that are
Oh,
just
great.
commemorative stuff. So if you were to buy something on my site, right, pay with say PirateChain, and then put in your address as a PO box or or a friend's address that you want to pick it up at. You don't even have to give me your name. You just literally type in A for your first name, B for your last name, whatever, and then give some address that you're going to go and pick up that package at.
That's not going to stop the transaction. All you need is that information as far as like an address to bring it to, whatever that name is that you choose to put on there, and you're going to have your privacy. You can get what you want without anybody else knowing what's there.
Yeah. So think of it that way. Think of it from my perspective, right? You buy something on my store, right? I received that transaction. I don't know how much you have. I don't know what transactions you've made before. All I see is that some wallet address made a transaction and put money in my wallet address. And then I see the information that you input on my site so that you can have your product or whatever it is shipped to said address. And all I see for a name is Abacadabra, right? That's all I know. Literally, that's the extent of
and as it, not for nothing, but as it should be. I mean, what's a big reason why people are gathering, or companies, I should say, are gathering your information these days, such as, Google, Amazon, wherever you're purchasing from, is because they simply want to know what you like to buy from what I know, at least, and from what I've learned. And they sort of want to market these things to you. They want to know if you're into, ladies' underwear or buying cigars, whatever the case may be. So they find out everything about you through public knowledge. I mean, what do they call that? You public file? I believe everybody has a public file on them. They learn about that. You have to give out a lot of information when making purchases. As you said, I think it should be that way. It should be private. They don't need to know any of this. As long as you are conducting your business, I'm conducting my purchase from you, and everyone's happy. There's an old saying that goes, as long as everyone's happy in a business transaction, then it was a good transaction. So what more is needed than that? Yeah,
and the saying I always go by is financial privacy is financial freedom. The moment you
that's agreeable.
You can be yourself. You can buy what you want to buy. And
Absolutely.
not have to worry about anybody else judging you because it's completely private. Now, why do you think? I mean, you can go off the complete deep end with this stuff as far as trying to get as much privacy as possible. But again, I mean, to a certain extent, it's reasonable to go to. Like, for example, with me, I stopped using Google Chrome. Why? Because they track all your data, and then all that data is sent to Google. I don't like that. That's messed up. Like with Facebook, for example, the only thing I use Facebook for is memes and sharing baby pictures. That's it, because my parents love watching that, love seeing all these pictures.
Right. It has its benefits because you get to do things like that, share your pictures with family, speak to old friends maybe from your high school. But I've heard a lot of bad things about these sites.
Well, yeah, that's why you got to be careful with your data. You got to be careful with whatever information you give out, because that's willingly giving your personal information to whatever corporation to do whatever they please with, basically. Yeah, they have a terms of service or whatever, but literally nobody reads it unless you're a lawyer.
Right. Yeah, that's what you're agreeing to when you sign up to these sites, right?
I mean, look at, for example, iTunes, right? You use iTunes. Do you ever read the agreement for that? You could be
There's like 20 freaking pages. How could I read it all? There's no way.
Exactly. You could technically be selling all of your property and all of your assets to freaking Apple.
Honestly, I could. I really could. I think I kind of thought about that at times when I would agree to these things, but I just kind of figured, it's such a large company, they can't be doing anything wrong or crazy here, but I wouldn't think to go as far as what they are doing, which is collecting your information and storing it and using it against you, really, in many ways.
Oh, yeah. And the same thing goes with phones, too. Like, you got to be careful with what information you put on your phone and all this other stuff, right? Because, I mean, for example, you remember back when it was some terrorist that had a cell phone that Apple was saying, well, no, we're not going to give you the code to crack it. And
Oh,
blah,
yes,
blah,
yes.
blah.
That was a big thing. Right. That was about
Yeah.
3 years ago. Mm-hmm.
That was all a front, literally, because they had that phone cracked within 20 minutes.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, because all they did was clone the phone, like clone the operating system and all the data on the phone, and then just literally copy it to a bunch of different virtual private or virtual desktops, and then just run every single code that they need to, and just basically force their way in. So it took
That's
them
insane. So what was it, a marketing stunt? Like what? Was it to make Apple look like a safer company to have because the government can't even break into your phone? I mean, what the hell was behind that?
Well, who knows? Realistically, I don't know why, because they literally had that phone open. So, like I said,
insane.
Everything that you see when it comes to privacy with companies like saying, oh, we value your privacy, it's all BS. It really is. So, like I always say, you got to be careful with the type of information that you're willing to give. And like in this case specifically, your financial privacy, the best way to go with doing transactions is using something like PirateChain. And the beauty of that too is the fact that PirateChain, which obviously I'm a captain of, we're building a point of sale system so that we can release it. In the first place we're going to be releasing it to, once we get all the approvals and all this foundation built and all this other stuff, is the Cayman Islands. And that'll be a perfect test ground because it's a completely, it's a super, super small island that cares about privacy and all this other stuff, right? So if we can implement that down there and it works and everything's perfect and people start using it, then we can start implementing it other places. And what that means is you can literally fly down to the Caymans and then pay for anything you want using PirateChain. And the beauty of it is that, say you're a merchant down there and somebody pays you in PirateChain, what ends up happening is you can either say on the app, you can either say, okay, yeah, I'll just accept the PirateChain and keep it, or you can have it automatically converted to your native fiat. So you can literally have.
So you still have the choice.
Exactly.
That's wow. Wow, that's great. So,
the beauty of that too is that protects the purchaser's privacy, because you're paying with a currency that nobody can trace, that nobody can see how much you have, nothing. The only thing that happens is on the other end, once that gets processed, because they don't have any of your data, once that gets processed, that goes through either directly to them or that goes through the regulatory institutions to convert that to their native fiat, in their case, Cayman dollars, and then gets sent to their bank account. So not only are they auditable on their end if they accept the fiat, but I mean, that's on them to actually be honest with how much they're getting in if they just accept PirateChain. You know
of course. Right.
So it has nothing to do with the person spending it. You're completely free and clear. No, there's no trace on your history of making said transaction. And on their end, they just have to be either honest or they just show that, oh, yeah, we converted everything to Cayman dollars. And that's it. All said and done.
That's incredible. I mean, there's so much to it, and it kind of seems like you covered every point on PirateChain. Which, by the way, I heard you say that you are the captain of PirateCoin.
I am one of the captains. Yes, I'm basically the media liaison, community manager, project manager, whatever you want to call it.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Congratulations. You should be. I mean, you have like I said, your knowledge on the topic and everything you've been explaining to me here. Really, you're really suited for the position, and it sounds like you're going to do just incredible things with that. And man, I'm excited. I'm definitely going to look into all this. Definitely going to get Bitcoin and then get PirateCoin. And I have a lot of research to do here. A lot.
Oh, yeah. The best thing I can really tell you is just learn. Just have just even if it's like an hour, if you have an hour to spare a day, just think of a topic that you want to learn about with crypto in general. And then just research. And just
where would you recommend that I can do that? Like, is YouTube a good site to go to to find a certain topic about this that I really want to, strengthen my knowledge on, or are there better sites?
YouTube is really hit or miss. Sometimes people just don't explain things well. Sometimes people just are too in depth. Like the level of knowledge you would need to understand it is too much. For the very, very
I feel like when I look something up on YouTube, I almost get so much information on the topic. I'm not sure as to what video to listen to first. So I'm not really grasping the basics of it. So
what I would do personally is I found a really good resource is Investopedia. They have a crypto section and it goes through everything. Basically everything you would need to know as a beginner. Even if you're slightly advanced in knowledge with this stuff, it helps significantly. And they break it down to layman's terms. It's actually phenomenal.
Which is perfect for somebody like me. Absolutely perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely use that. Actually, I just wrote it down. Excellent.
And that's the thing
great.
Too, is that I was like, put it this way, I was like you at one point, I didn't know anything about this crap.
Yeah, like I feel completely lost, and it's like I'm even trying to find ways to bring up my questions here, because it's like, when you're doing something all your life, like dealing with the banking system and checks and, income tax and all of that. Yes, I had a lot of questions to kind of relate to with that. But when it comes to this, I feel like a baby, honestly.
Oh yeah. And also on my end, like I knew about privacy coins and kind of how they worked and things like that. And this was like, after about a year being in there, I kind of understood like how Monero worked and how certain other ones worked.
Right.
But when I found PirateChain, this was about a month and a half after PirateChain started. Like the blockchain was actually started. And I was literally nobody. I was just like, wow, this is actually pretty cool stuff. And then I actually started talking to some of the developers like JL or Mr. Lynch and some of the community members. I was like, wow, this is a really
you got involved. You were interested in it.
Oh, yeah. And then after a while, I was like, I have never spent a decent amount of time with any given project. I was always there for the profitability, right? Because I was a miner. I still am. And I was like, let me actually dig into this because this is some really cool. So I started digging in and learning. I was like, wow, this is something that I actually am starting to believe in, because like they were teaching me not only about PirateChain, but just privacy in general and why it's important. So
just pretty much everything in general was grasping your attention, and then it's like a rabbit hole. It's you just keep digging deeper and deeper.
Oh, it is. And then it's just I kept getting this obsession with learning, and I was like, this is something I actually truly believe in now, because I realize how important privacy really is. And then for doing all my due diligence on why PirateChain is different, why they're the best in crypto, I was like, this is something they feel like I belong to and want to help out. So that's when I started doing anything I possibly could with the project to just, help them out. Like, for example, write an article or, promote on Twitter or do this or do that, just small things here and there. And then
it's kind of like paying your dues just to get in there and have the ability to get involved with the project and learn more about it. It's like starting a job you may have a passion for. You may start, all the way down low as a dishwasher at a fancy restaurant, but the more you get involved, the more you're going to learn. The more you learn, the more you're going to enjoy it, the more you can use it. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And then after a while, some of the higher ups were like, wow, you're actually doing quite a bit of cool stuff and helping us out. So I got promoted from there. So I was like, all right, cool. And then after a while, we had some community chats, and one of the things they were like, yeah, what's one way we can promote PirateChain? I was like, dude, why don't you make like a physical commemorative coin? Because I see a lot of those that Bitcoin has and certain other projects, and they're like, yeah, why don't you take the lead up on that and see what you can do? So I was like, sure. Wow. So that's when I started.
Yeah, you got your first responsibility. You start building even more passion for it. That's excellent.
And then from that point, I was like, maybe I can make this a business too. So I actually created my own business making physical commemorative coins, which I have, over, a dozen and a half created for basically a dozen and a half different projects. So I'm pretty well known among several different projects here and there now. So like my name's actually been getting out there, which is pretty cool.
Jared, if you don't mind me asking, how many years has it taken you so far to build all of these projects and be involved in them?
Well, for my coin business, I've been in business since March of this year.
Oh, okay. So that one's fairly new. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, PirateChain started in August 29th of last year. I got into it in late October.
Oh, okay. I had no idea. I thought this was an ongoing project for a little while now. So it's so PirateCoin's pretty new in itself then.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a very, very young project. And then after, one of the guys that was a captain had to leave because he had, family issues and things like that was happening, and he couldn't really focus enough time.
Right. That's unfortunate.
People like me, Lutz, and several others like House and Phoenix and several other people from PirateChain got together. We're like, we need to do everything we can to fill the gap since he's gone. So that's when we started coming up with our own ideas, coming up with ways to help push Pirate out into the open and get more people, more attention on it. And then from that point, we all got promoted, and then I got promoted to captain because it was basically my second job at that point. And it was the second job that I truly loved doing because I truly believe in the project, So it's like, with all the work that I put in, it's not even like it's not even a job for me. It's like me having fun. And I've experienced so many different things from it. Like, for example, talking to exchanges located in different countries, like, Europe or continents like Europe or Asia or, everywhere across the world. I've spoken to people from any nation, like pretty much.
Incredible. So you're expanding your horizons. You're basically going international in a sense. That's, it's like that old saying, when you truly love what you're doing, it's no longer a job. It's just how you pass your time, and you get better at it, and you come up with better ideas. And what better people to have on a project? Honestly, if I could build my dream team, if I was to build a company one day, it would be people that are dedicated and passionate and want to be there to do the job, because those are the people that you could always rely on, because they simply just want to be there as much as you do. They want that project to succeed.
Oh, yeah. And then you can literally say this about any project in crypto that you get involved with, too. Like, it's just, if you find something, like find a project that you truly love and you want to be a part of, you can be a part of it, And then, like, in most cases, people recognize that, and then you'll, like, get more responsibilities, and then you'll take on more stuff if you want to. And then you can just see the whole world in front of you. It's crazy, because I never thought for a single moment that I'd be speaking to an exchange over in China about listing and, having negotiations with them. And then, and not even that, being sent to the Cayman Islands, me, Lutz, and 3 other people being sent over to the Cayman Islands to promote PirateChain.
That looked like an incredible trip. I saw the video on that, and you guys look like you really did a great job over there. Pretty much dominated the event that they were having there, and you were all so happy. You were all having fun at the same time.
Oh yeah,
I saw nothing but smiles, pirate suits. I mean, it's incredible, really incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've known Lutz now since pretty much maybe a month after I joined PirateChain, and after it's like a whole trip where we just all of us bonded together because we're all in it for the same reason.
You know what? As you should. You guys are always working together. You should have your fun together too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just like meeting your coworkers for the first time. It's freaking awesome.
That's great.
We all went down there. It was sponsored by PirateChain, and all the community got together and paid for pretty much everything that we needed, except for like food, for example. So we just paid we pitched in for food and whatever, but everything else, was paid for. We met, VIPs. We met, I can't really say who those VIPs are. In certain cases, we met.
Well, yeah, you're building bridges. It's still, even so, meeting great people, and you're putting the name out there, and you're having a great time doing it. I mean, what better job to have than that? Honestly, beats being stuck at some warehouse and not wanting to be there. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and watching Lutz approach people and just start talking to them and breking the ice is possibly one of the favorite things I've ever seen. It is absolutely.
Yeah, he's got an addictive personality. He's the type of person, once he smiles or cracks a joke, the other person is going to get sucked in and start cracking jokes too. It's just one of those incredible personalities, and it's a really great person. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and then we had another guy, Wolf, that we brought last minute because he just seemed like that type of person that was truly interested in Pirate, even though he's part of another project. And he was the type of person that can explain anything. So we brought him along, and it was like Lutz and Wolf were like the 1-2 punch, because literally Lutz would go up to somebody, start talking to them, and Wolf would join in and then explain things on such a low level, that literally
That's great.
Understand it. And then automatically they were interested. I mean, hell.
Yeah, it's like you have the icebreaker, and then you have the guy to finalize. It's I used to play that game with a friend of mine, except we did it to girls, so we were pretty successful, I have to say. So it does work. I can follow that business model.
It was fantastic. So, but I mean, putting all that aside and going back to what we were kind of discussing before, it's just financial privacy is one of the most important things a person can have, aside from just personal privacy.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So by adding that privacy to your life, it's freeing, because you could do almost anything you want with your money and nobody can say shit about it.
Financial freedom. I mean, I don't think there's any one true person that has experienced entire financial freedom that hasn't at least delved into something like this. I'm sorry?
Unless you're rich and can set up shell companies and all this other crap.
Correct. Yeah, right. Exactly. But that's not most of the population.
Yeah, average Joes like us can't afford that luxuries.
Well, not yet.
Well, actually, we're getting there because of PirateChain.
I agree. The potential is huge here. And it just kind of, I would like to say that, well, I wouldn't like to say, but usually everything kind of has this boundary or this point where it could reach that it will be successful, but it can only go so far. It's sort of like hitting a threshold. But I don't see that anywhere in sight with this. It's just boundless opportunities. You could do so much with this. And I don't even know the half of it. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying here much better from your experience, but I just feel like anything could be possible in the future with this.
Oh yeah, and the greatest thing ever too is that you can literally go into a PirateChain Telegram or Discord or wherever we are and just start asking questions, and people will just answer them. I mean, you could be like, "Hey, I'm completely new to crypto. I have questions."
That's something I've done recently.
Go ahead.
I've done that recently. I've signed up to Discord, and I started off by watching, what people were saying and just kind of getting an idea for what was going on. But I have to admit, you got the right idea. I should start asking questions too, because unless I do, I'm just really not going to understand what's being spoken of, within it. But there's just a wealth of knowledge there as well. I mean, about everything going on.
Oh, yeah. And also to show that, we actually truly care about privacy, we have a privacy learning channel to where we link articles and all these different media sources to show how important it is and learn about it and why it's important and all this other fun stuff. It's a great learning resource. And like I said, I mean, you're on Discord, so you can literally talk to me, Lutz, or any of the developers or anybody in the community and just ask questions. And even if you're a little shy about asking something that you may think is a dumb question, like I said,
exactly, that's exactly what's going on, right?
You still have people like me, Lutz, and even the developers, and hell, JL, who is the lead developer of Komodo and the core developer of Pirate. He is one of the most brilliant people I've ever spoken to. and can,
Wow.
if you were to just even ask him something you think is a stupid question and just be like, hey, I'm completely new to crypto. Can you explain this concept to me? He will break it down in such a way that you will easily learn what that concept is, and he will enjoy doing it. And that's the greatest thing ever. Because even recently, I didn't completely understand what something was, and I asked him a question, and he went into full detail in such a way that I was like, oh, wow, that makes complete sense.
He just goes like, he went above and beyond.
Yeah, and this is me who's been in crypto for several years now. I mean, granted, that's not as much as a lot of other people, but I mean, I know for the most part what I'm talking about, but I mean, there's still concepts that I just don't understand. And by talking to him about certain concepts, it's just like he breaks it down to the point where anybody can learn. And that's the greatest thing.
You make a great point. When somebody's interested in learning and they've really taken to a project, I can't see why somebody wouldn't answer your question. Being an electrician myself, having a new coworker, I kind of can take an appreciation in the fact that he came up and asked me a question, because it shows me he wants to learn. So as long as he's willing to want to learn, I'm willing to spend all the time that person possibly needs to help him and give him the best answer I can to the best of my knowledge. So that makes a lot of sense, and it makes me feel a lot easier about going on Discord and asking questions.
Yeah, and think of it this way too, man, is that, like I said, I was in your position at one point, and then I just started asking questions. And if it wasn't for the community, the vast majority of the community willingly just answering my questions, making sure I have all the information I'm looking for and things like that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. You know what I mean?
It's like having your own little brother to go in there. You all have the same interests, so people are willing to help. People want to learn. It's a great community to be involved in.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I absolutely love just about everybody in the community. I mean, there's always going to be like the redheaded stepchild that's out there that, that's just
there always is. But, for the most part, I have to say from what I've seen and everyone I've spoken to, you today, Boots, I've spoken to House. I have to admit, I've gotten along incredibly with everyone. I've gone from having a one night conversation with people to calling them brother the next day. I could just see that all of your hearts are just so into this that there's almost no room for anything else other than, being involved with each other and having that passion there and just truly being good to each other in that way, helping each other learn. There's always going to be that person that knows more than the next, and as long as that person's willing to teach and be involved as well, it all works out. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm mumbling my words right now because I've been up since like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I apologize. I'm sorry. So
guys, you guys should start cutting it off because you're over like 2 hours now.
Yeah, I'm literally like I'm burning the candle at both ends right now. As much fun as I'm having, really. What do you call it? Dread.
I'm not having to talk. I mean, this is the best show I ever did.
I was waiting for you to jump in a few times, but I'd love to. And Dread, I just want to say thank you for talking to me tonight, making me aware of so much that I did not know. I really appreciate all the time that you put in and detail that you put into explaining everything to me. I really do. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Anytime, man. And honestly, thank you, because I've forgotten how much I enjoy just having a conversation, not just about, cryptocurrency, but about privacy in general, with someone that's actually wanting to really learn about it. I truly do enjoy it, and I haven't done it in a long time, and this is just absolutely fun. I really enjoy it.
That's really nice of you to say, and I definitely felt that love and picked up on it, because just the wealth of knowledge, like I've said so many times today, I'm literally going to have to like sit back tonight and sift through all of this in my head just to try to grasp everything, all the knowledge that you've taught me today. I wrote some things down as you were speaking too. So we'll start working on that later on. But thank you so much. I appreciate everything. And this was a great talk.
Oh yeah, and the beauty of it too is that this is all recorded too, so you can go back and actually re-listen to everything just to make sure you grasp it.
Great point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Lutz, you're gonna have to hook me up with that, buddy.
Yeah, and if you got anybody else, that wants the same lessons, on air and just wants to come ask questions, that's totally cool. Just bring them on and we'll do another show with them.
You know what? I may bring on some friends that are skeptical. Oh, geez, still mumbling my words. It's been a long night. But I got friends that basically don't believe in this 100% enough to get involved. It's a big reason why I'm learning for myself too. This way, when I explain it to them, I want to be able to give them the right details and make them understand what I do. But if I could get them on the show and get them involved, you're damn right I will. Absolutely.
All right, so it sounds like they're coming on the show. Sounds good.
No, whoa. Hold on. One of them is coming back from California next week. We'll see. All right.
I'm not sure what I'm hearing from you, but it sounds good. Just get
all right.
No problem.
All right, guys. Great night. Get some rest. I certainly am, and this was fun. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, Uncle Charlie. Nice job.
You're more than welcome, Lutz. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're a sexy man.
This has been Crypto Core Radio. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell your friends so they can be among the first to learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency advancement in the new digital economy.